Yo, what up, guys? It's Brock, and today we are talking all things MacBook. M1 Pro, M1 Max, is it worth it? All the things. Let's get into it. In short terms, I love this thing. It is by far the best computer that I've ever owned in my 24 years on this planet. I have a 2019 iMac that's spec'd out behind me. I have a Mac Mini at home with the M1 chip, and it smokes them both. I had a 2018 MacBook Pro before then, smoked it by a mile. So it's not even close that this is the fastest computer that I've ever owned, and I truly do love it. So yeah, the spec I bought was the 16-inch M1 Max with 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. I decided for me that was plenty. I debated on the M1 Pro versus the M1 Max, but I decided that I wanted to future-proof it for what I may be doing, not just today, but maybe 2-3 years from now, 4 years from now even. So I went ahead with the M1 Max. I did not upgrade the RAM just because most of the things I do, 32 is enough. And I know the RAM swap thing with the SSD is controversial, but I think it's fine, and I'm cool with relying on that to some degree. So, and for the most part, I don't have multiple heavy programs open at one time, so 32 is enough for me. And I would have loved to upgrade the storage, but I just didn't feel like the money was worth it, especially considering that I've already invested a lot in these portable SSDs, and I edit on those a lot. So, a terabyte was fine for me. I'm going to kind of break this video down in a few simple categories, from design, performance, and some other things that I just noticed that stuck out to me that I've enjoyed, and I will touch on the things that I don't like as well. So let's start it off with the design of the computer. I think it's great. I think it looks really good. I think it feels good to hold. It doesn't have those sharp edges anymore like the old generation of MacBooks had. There's like not a sharp edge on this computer anywhere that I can find. So no matter where you hold it, it's smooth. It doesn't hurt your hand. That's kind of a stupid thing to love, but I do love that about it. Not gonna lie though, this thing is pretty chunky. It's a thick boy. It is not light, but that's okay for me. I don't mind. I came from a 2018 15-inch MacBook Pro. It's really not that much heavier, not that much thicker. And when I am carrying it with my hands, it is easier to carry. It doesn't, it's a more comfortable device to carry around if you have to, and I don't really notice a huge difference being in my bag. So not a huge deal to me, but some people, you may find it a nuisance to have something that large carrying around in your bag. So just pick up the 14-inch if that's more your speed. Yes, and ports are back. That's awesome. I love it. I still shoot on cameras with SD cards. As you guys know, the R6 is a dual SD card camera. So having a SD card slot built right in is great for me. It's convenient, it's nice, and it's easy. HDMI port's nice to have. Don't use it a ton, but it's there if I need it. I love MagSafe. MagSafe is great. It's always been great, but now that it charges so obscenely fast, it's awesome. It just makes the battery life that's already great on this computer even better, knowing that I can charge back up super quickly. And again, it's safe from yanking it off the table because of the, MagSafe part of it. So it's all around great design. I love this computer. The keyboard is also great. Best keyboard since 2015. Probably the best keyboard in a Mac ever, to be honest. But we all know the woes of the 2016 to like 2019 Butterfly keyboard. So that's gone. It was trash. Never should have existed to begin with. I said it. We all think it. Let's just move on. Trackpad. Apple still makes the best trackpad in the business. Not even a question. Theirs is just unrivaled. No one's done it better. There are good ones out there, but nothing's as good. So the design, I love it. No complaints. I think it looks great. So let's talk about the hardware aspect of it that I think sticks out the most, and it's not the screen. The screen is great. I will start here. The screen is great. I love the screen. It's by far the best screen ever in a MacBook. A lot of these things should be the best ever in a MacBook, but we learned very quickly when the 2016 MacBooks came out that they downgraded in a lot of areas. This is not the case. This is all an upgrade. They brought some things back that they took away, but this screen is great. I find that the 120 hertz, the ProMotion aspect of it is cool. I don't find a lot of use for it right now because I don't play a lot of games on my computer, but even just scrolling around the UI and in macOS, it's super buttery, which is awesome. I have gotten used to that with my iPhone, so it's nice to see that now on a MacBook. The resolution, the contrast is great. The display does bloom. I know some of you may have heard of the mini LED blooming. So basically, if you have something bright on your screen that has a dark background, you'll see kind of this haloing effect. So like the pause and play bars at the bottom of videos, or like the little X's in the corner, there is like this weird kind of glowing halo that happens around that. It's not a huge deal. It only really comes into play when you're watching videos, to be honest. But for the most part, you only see it in the edges of a display. It's not like you're going to see it in your content, like all in the way. So I don't really consider that a huge deal, but it's something you should be aware of. It is a thing, but that's going to be a thing with all mini LED displays at the moment. That's just kind of the technology. It just is what it is. So the blooming is a thing, but overall the screen's great. I love the extra contrast from the mini LED. I love being able to trust what I see on it. It's extremely accurate. I know what I see on it is going to be an accurate representation of what everybody else sees on their devices. So it's nice that I can trust it. So talking about the screen, we got to talk about the notch. Do I think it's a big deal? Not really. To me, it just does not bother me really at all. And I'm not saying that as an Apple fanboy. Like, I'm the first to admit when products suck that they make, and like my 2018 MacBook was one of those products. But this one, I just don't have an issue with. Sure, would I love a bezel-less screen that has no notch? Of course, everybody would. I don't think I'm going to say, you can sit here and say that you prefer the notch. I just say that it doesn't really affect my job or my work or the things I do on the laptop. That's what I'll say about that. If you have your own opinions, that's cool, but that's mine. I will say, though, the thing that stuck out to me the most when I was going to test the screen, I was going to watch Avengers Endgame, as a lot of people do, because it's just a great visual to test out a screen, and the speakers stole the show, hands down. I work with a lot of musicians. I work with a lot of audiophiles. I myself am an audiophile and a musician, and everybody I've showed it to, the speakers, it blows them away because it's in a laptop. I mean, the imaging, the clarity, just the overall punchiness of them is crazy, crazy good for a laptop. Like, I was watching Endgame, and the imaging when the Thanos threw his sword at the big fight at the end, and like it went right to left, and it was like you heard it literally right to left. Like, the imaging is great, and that's hard to pull off. And it's an underrated feature in my opinion, just when it comes to consuming content. And I'll be honest, these are not going to replace your studio monitors by any means, but I have used them for quick dialogue editing, like stuff like this, like where I'm just editing my voice and not music or anything like that. And honestly, it's totally usable. It also helps that I do know my own voice a little bit, but I would totally trust it in a pinch. So just being able to do that period in my laptop speaker is just crazy. Knowing that in a bind, I wouldn't have to plug in headphones, or I wouldn't have to plug in, a pair of speakers, that I could totally trust it. That's just a cool feature to have. So the speakers, huge win for me. They're more important to me than I thought they would be, is what I'll say. Now let's talk performance, right? Does it live up to the hype? I say yes. I'm a Final Cut editor. The only Adobe software I use is Lightroom and Photoshop, and I do use After Effects occasionally when I need it. And After Effects, honestly, was my worst experience on this computer. I did use it recently for a project, and it was pretty terrible. But I blame that on Adobe, less of the MacBook, because After Effects is still not optimized for M1, and Photoshop and Lightroom are, and they perform great. After Effects didn't perform terrible. It was just slow. For the power that the laptop has, it's very obvious to me that After Effects and Premiere and all those programs are not utilizing it by any means. It's terribly optimized right now. Adobe needs to get their crap together. You suck for that, especially as much as you're charging for your software. It's ridiculous that you don't have it optimized at this point. But anyway, I digress. I use Final Cut. People that use DaVinci say that it works great. So I've seen huge performance improvements. Like last week, I was editing and rendering a 51-minute video that had, text layers. It had graphic layers. It had color grades on it, all the footage, adjustment layers, all these things. And it rendered out in 11 minutes. And that was unoptimized footage. That was no proxies, nothing. And it rendered out in 11 minutes. It kind of blew my mind. And it did all of that without the fans being audible from a distance. If you lean close, you could hear them. But other than that, I did not hear the fans at all. It's pretty mind-blowing, especially coming from this iMac and my 2018 MacBook Pro that would basically become a furnace and start screaming at me anytime I would hit render on anything, or even like open the lid. It would just start roaring like a freaking jet engine. It was absurd. So this computer's crazy. I do love that aspect of it. It does get warm. The fans do turn on, but it's nothing like it was before. It's an acceptable amount of heat and loudness, I guess, coming from the machine, you could say. So yeah, the performance has been great. I have no complaints. So yeah, it performs great. Like, I edit R6 footage all the time. I edit C200 with the 12-bit raw light footage, and it handles it like a champ. Like, I literally don't even have to make optimized footage. I don't even have to make proxies, don't have to optimize anything. I can just edit the raw footage out of the camera on the timeline like butter. I'll have stuff stacked, and there's no issues at all. So if you're coming from an R5, R6, any of these heavier codecs, this computer performs flawlessly. It is great. I think, like, yes, Canon could have created a easier codec to work with, but these computers are finally catching up, and I feel like this laptop's the first one that I feel like I trust to actually handle it and handle it really well. So that's been awesome for me. So yeah, I think it performs great. So what I recommend this computer, absolutely. I think it depends on your budget. If you make money and you make a living off of your laptop, it is 110% worth it. Is it worth it to go get the M1 Pro? I don't really know. I'm not going to speak on it because I haven't used it. And I haven't used the 14-inch laptop, so I'm not going to speak on that. I do know that they do throttle the 14-inch ones because of heat, so keep that in mind. You may get the M1 Max in a 14-inch, but it probably will be a tad bit slower than the 16-inch. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I would say do your own research. I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there comparing the M1 Pro to the M1 Max and all the different configurations. There's people that do a great job with all that kind of stuff. So if you're debating on one of those, go that route. But I just want the extra screen real estate. I want the extra size and the power. So I chose to go with the 16-inch. That was just kind of me. But yeah, overall, I love this thing and I have no regrets. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the new MacBooks. Let me know yours in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you getting one? Have you got one? I'd love to hear from you. So let me know. Again, thanks for watching. Hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos just like this. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.